So guys, this online workshop is conducted by School of Innovation India from Facebook, along with the community partners, Program Mummy and TinkerHub CUCEK. Before starting the section, let me introduce myself. Myself, AkhilTJ. I am one of the Spark Air facilitator in the SOI community. Check me out at the given links. Before starting the section, let's go through the agenda first. Importance of a community when learning a new technology, basics of augmented reality, importance of camera in AR, introduction to Spark AR, familiarizing with tools and workspace, how to create and deploy your first Instagram or Facebook filter, and what is the future of Spark AR. After the section, I hope you guys will be able to create a Facebook or Instagram filter by yourself. Yes, the importance of a community before training and learning of a new technology. You guys might be wondering why the section begins with an introduction to a community, because before learning a new technology, you should be aware of the community support that is available for the particular technology. This is because after learning the technology, there comes a time to work on the project, and it might be a personal or it may not be a personal work where you will be facing a lot of difficulties. You will be getting some unexpected errors, some exceptional errors that cannot be rectified. In such cases, only a community can help you, because in a community there will be different types of people: beginners, people with intermediate experience, experts, or maybe developers themselves. And Facebook School of Innovation is such a community, and the mission of the community is to create a learning pathway for students to gain experience in the Facebook developer technologies and graduate to the industry with skill to get jobs or become entrepreneurs. To know more about the community, please refer the link given below. All the contents of today's session, including the links and presentation itself, will be shared in the Telegram groups. Anybody who haven't joined the Telegram group, please check your mails or contact the PME organizing team. Augmented reality, that one key technology that promises to tie fiction to reality. Why it is written as fiction to reality? This is because AR was considered as a fiction thing throughout the past. You guys might have seen some movies like maybe Marvel movies like Iron Man, or some anime series like Dragon Ball Z, in which AR is being used in the form of invisible screen where Tony Stark used to interact with his hand or his voice. But right now this scenario is changing. A lot of companies in the world are working hard to make it possible, from Facebook to Google, Apple to Amazon. Now let's move on to the topic. The basics of augmented reality. Many of them don't know why is AR and how the technology works, or what is the difference between AR and VR. When I was at the learning stage, I was also really confused whether we have to use the HMT device, that is the head mounted display, which is used for experiencing VR. The concept of AR is that AR superimposes a computer generated image on a user's view of the real world. That's the proper definition. In simpler terms, we can say that we are creating something digitally. It can be a two-dimensional or three-dimensional object, and we are bringing that thing or that object to the real world. That is the actual concept of AR. And also in AR, we do not use a HMD device. Instead of Instead, for a complete experience, we may use some kind of gadget or headset. That is also not a compulsory part. And also, more than one person can see the same augmented content. That is, in VR, it may not be possible that more than one person can experience the same VR, but while using an augmented reality, more than one person can see the augmented thing which comes to the real world. Let's differentiate them both. Augmented reality and virtual reality. As I said before, AR places computer generated 3D object directly into our environment. And what VR does is VR enables you to place yourself in a digital computer generated world. What does this mean? In AR, what we are actually doing is we are making a two-dimensional or three-dimensional object using any of the softwares, and we are making that object to come to our real world. So what is our real world? The real world is our surrounding or our environment. But in VR, we are creating a digital world, and we are trying to use that world as our own. And also, to experience VR, we need some special devices or gadgets such as head mounted displays or customized hardware which takes our vision and hear completely. In order to experience the virtual world, we need to completely transform our world to the virtual. For it, we are using hearing or vision instruments or like headsets or something like that. But instead, in AR, all we need is a camera. This is a diagram proposed by Paul Milligram and is known as Paul Milligram's virtuality continuum. What he proposed was the real world and virtual world are the two extreme ends of the line, where AR will be closer to the real world and virtual reality VR will be further away. And in the middle, with these dash lines, you can see that both the augmented reality and virtual reality comes together. This part is termed as mixed reality. Importance of camera. As I had told before, in order to experience AR, all we required is a device that has a camera option. And thus because AR device rely heavily on camera. In the beginning of 20th century, large amount of new technologies were developed, and it was only a matter of time the smartphones were invented. The camera of the smartphone were getting better and better in every cycle, and this gave us a lot of opportunities for AR. And yes, it was found that smartphone is the cheapest and efficient way to experience AR. All of you might be knowing this game. This was a trend during the last 2-3 years. The gaming sensation Pokemon Go. This was built on very simple concept. They have utilized a Google Map API. Along with that, they embedded or implanted the AR technology. And this was one of the major hits during those time. Nothing much to learn. You guys can check it out or Google it. What is tracking in AR? Tracking is the most important concept when dealing with augmented reality. As I had referred to you before, the digitally created object, when brought to the real world, it should act like a real world object. It should not move along with the device, as you can see in the figure. the digitally created something like an alien. If we are while we are moving the device, if this object is moving along with the device, we cannot term it as an real world object. So once we are bringing the digitally created object to the real world, it should act like a real world object. That is the major concept in augmented reality. And the object what which we are bringing to the real world should experience laws of physics. As we know, all the objects in the real world experience the laws of physics, such as, for example, let us consider gravity. All the objects in the world experience gravity. Similarly, the objects which we are digitally creating and while trying to bring it to the real world, that digitally created object should experience the same gravity as we do, or the objects in the real world do. AR capable devices use something called tracking. Tracking is usually done by accelerometer and gyroscope sensors. And there are different methods of tracking: facial tracking, people tracking, image tracking, object tracking, orientation and position tracking. And these are the ways in which a face is being tracked in Spark AR. In the y-axis, x-axis, and z-axis. In Spark AR, we are going to deal with a three-dimensional space. Some programmers might be experienced with Unity or other some Unreal Engine or some other game engines. They might have used or might have experienced this three-dimensional space. So in Spark AR also we are using the same three-dimensional space for creating our own augmented reality object, or here we are creating a AR filter. Spark AR from Facebook. So let's begin. This is a brief history of Spark AR. You guys can check it out as we don't have much time. You have to go a long path. Nothing much to learn. You guys can check it out. How to set up Spark AR. I have already provided the links, and all the links will be given in the group. Either you can use those links to download and set up a Spark AR, but I have also included the installation processes, system requirements, and all the setup steps which you have required. Nothing to worry, it is easy. I have provided the link for both Windows and Mac installation. If that wasn't helpful, you can also refer the documentation, or you can refer my blog. I had written a blog regarding that. You can check it out using that link. But I have a very sad news to share with you guys. Unfortunately, Spark AR do not support Linux. Very sad, folks, very sad. Since Spark AR is at its development stage, it will be, I hope it will be available for Linux OS in the coming days. Major updates are going on. I had started using Spark AR for the past few months, and within that almost 3 to 5 updates was already done. Spark AR is a developing technology or software, so I hope they will also provide it for Linux in the coming days. But right now Linux is not supported. until today. But experts suggest another method for Linux, that is by using VirtualBox. Sorry guys, that's the only option available right now. Those who want to try in Linux should download the VirtualBox and install Windows and try and install SparkAR in that. Here is the wizard setup for Windows and Mac. Just like in other applications which we are installing in Windows, simple next. But sometimes, not sometimes, mostly it will be prompting to a option called installing iTunes. But this isn't a necessary step. Either you can skip, but most of the time we cannot skip the option. You have to install iTunes also to install SparkAR. So install iTunes too, and installation procedures are very easy. Now coming to the tools and workspace. Let's go to the SparkAR and check it out. This is what we will see when we open up SparkAR. You have so many options. These are the updates which was available in the last week. These two options wasn't available for the during previous month. We are opening a blank project right now. Here, as you can see, a workspace. This is our workspace. And first what you have to do is go to the view option and enlarge the font size, because by the default the font size will be at its minimum level and it seems very frustrating for the eyes. It was really small, so we should enlarge the size first. Like all the other softwares have, we are having a menu bar, a toolbar, and this is the asset window and the objects present in the workspace, and this is the property window. So first we are going to learn about the workspace, and this is a three-dimensional workspace as I referred before. We can add any object in the three-dimensional workspace. You can turn the three-dimensional or change the view of the three-dimensional space by, or you can look around the three-dimensional space in 360-degree by pressing the right key and using the touchpad. So as you can see, there is a wired construction given below, and this is the considered as the wireframe of a smartphone, and this is the screen available which is shown in the emulator, and this is the emulator. One of the major advantages of SparkAR is that, not like in Android Studio, we have an inbuilt emulator which is available. You can change the resolution or change the devices using this option. And also you can see a man doing certain actions. Since we are creating a filter, they have already included the actions, most important actions necessary for which a person does. We can also change the avatar. The person in the emulator is called an avatar. We can change the avatar by pressing a camera option in the extreme left side. There are also other avatars available. So you can select your apt avatar, or while trying a filter we can like check and see if the filter is suitable for all kinds of people with different cultures or from different places. Also there is a camera option available where you can use your own webcams and check how the filter suits you. And also there is an option to pause the video, play, restart, etc. Suppose we are adding an object inside three-dimensional space. This is an example. I will tell this a little bit more deeply in the coming section. This is to show you an example. Suppose you are adding a three-dimensional cube into the space. The cube will be added in the asset section, as you can see. In order to view the cube in the three-dimensional space, what you have to do is select the cube and drag in to the scene. So you can see the cube has been added to the three-dimensional space, and there is an X, Y, Z axis. You can look around by pressing the, as I said, you can look around by pressing the right mouse button and drag it in the screen. And also you can zoom in and zoom out using touchpad, either using touchpad or using, if you are using mouse, you can either scroll in and scroll out. And also you can change the position of the wireframe by simply pressing in the emulator and dragging like this. As you can see, the object is being added. There is an 3-axis X, Y, and Z. Can move the object using the axis. If you want to move only in X direction, you can use the X direction, X axis, and you can press the X axis and move it along the X axis. If you want to move it along the Y axis, you can use Y axis. Or if you want to move along both the direction, either in you have to move in XY plane, you can use this option to move it around the XY plane. Similarly, in the other planes, XZ and YZ planes, this is by default. While you add an object, this is the options available. But after adding the object, you can also change the size of the object by pressing the button given right now. This it is already, by if you wait a little bit, it will be showing the properties of the object. Edit the scale of the selected object. We are using that option to edit the scale. If you want to increase the scale in X direction, also in Y direction, or Z direction, or in XZ direction, XY direction, in all the way you can change the size. And another option is also available in order to rotate the selected object. Once you select that option, you can see a spear-like wired colored frame covers the object. And once we bring the pointer near to this frame, you can see it is getting the color change. So once you click that, and you can rotate the object in any way, in either XY, either like this as showing, and these options will be explained later. And also you can change by the default the view of the screen or the view of the workspace, and the wireframe will be in the bird's eyes perspective. You can change this perspective in the view bar, orthogonic projection, which we have already learned during our first years. Perspective projection, left, right, all the options are available. Once when you change the option, Once when you zoom in and we are doing like playing around in the three-dimensional space, you might get lost. Then you might have to return. If you want to return into the same view, you have to drag so much. Instead of that, you can just simply change the view in the view bar. And this is the property window of the object. Once we select the object, the properties of the object will be listed in the property window, and it will be explained later. That is the workspace and the tools available. And also, okay, I forgot something. You might have noticed that something on the three-dimensional space shown like also, okay, once you select the object, that object will be highlighted with a blue color. That says direction light. And what is this direction light? As I termed before, once a digital or three-dimensional object is created digitally and brought to the real world, that have to act as a real world object. And as you know, uh, a person can view or a person can see an object by reflecting when the object reflects light. So here when the digitally created object comes to the real world, that object also should reflect light. But as you get me wondering, like how the digitally created object will reflect light. Uh, for reflecting light, we are using directional light. We can change the position of the directional light. As you can see, when you change the direction of the light, here light changes are coming, and also you can move the position also. You can also move the position of the direction light. Um, in this scenario, we can assume the direction light as a sun. In three-dimensional space or in Spark AR, the direction light is just like a sun in our real world. This direction light is a sun in the three-dimensional real world of Spark AR. And focal distance. What do you mean by focal distance? Here the focal distance is termed as uh, which is the maximum or the minimum distance from which the object can be seen by the camera here. As you can see, the wired space wire gauge is up to the limit. Only an object within the wire gauge can be seen in the camera. You can see here in the emulator itself. Once the object goes out of the wireframe, the object cannot be seen. These are the basic tools and the workspace, all the basic things which you have to know while starting with Spark AR. Again, let's go back to the PPT and let's see some other major things. So we have learned about the workspace and the basic tools that's available in Spark AR. Now let's create and deploy the first filter. Are you guys excited? Anyway, I am. I'm excited actually. So let's begin. Let's go back to the Spark AR studio and let's start building the first Instagram filter or first Facebook filter. So I'm going to open up a new one. So this is what we see when we open up a Spark AR Studio. As I referred, we are going to build our first Spark AR Instagram or Facebook filter. In order to do that, at first we will be adding an face tracker. As I had explained before, tracking is the major concept or the most important concept in augmented reality. Here, the Facebook team or the developer team of Spark AR have used complex algorithms in order to track the face most effectively. So, in order to do that, all we have to do is press the Add Object button here in the left side in the toolbar. As you can see, so many options comes up, and the first option is face tracker, and also we are having a plain tracker, and the properties or the what is that, the explanation of each tracker is given in the box. And also we can see so many other options available. Right now we are planning to use a face tracker. Before that, I will also explain a small basic concept. Here, the person's face is moving or can be moved in any direction. So in order to track a face, we are adding a face tracker, but this face tracker is not visible even if it will be added, because face tracker is just a function which was already written by the developer team, and all we have to use that function, all we have to do is use the face tracker option above. Once we insert the face tracker, you can see the face tracker is being inserted, and you cannot see any changes in the three-dimensional space or in the emulator. But once we select the face tracker, you can see an X, Y, and Z axis is visible. This is how a face is being tracked. So what I am planning to do is we are creating a Instagram filter here, uh, a Joker Instagram filter. So in order for the Joker face to be created, we are adding a face like a Joker face like thing, and that is called a face mesh. As you can see, a 3D face model that responds to facial expression tracked by the face tracker. This is the explanation given by the developer team. And once we insert the face mesh, mesh will be seen in the both in the emulator and the workspace. And if we turn around, you can see a mesh is being it seems like it is being wrapped around, or it sticks around the face in the same way, like there won't be any difference with the face or the mesh which is being added. Add the face mesh and play around, so you might be able to understand a bit more. As I had told, there is an asset option. What is an asset? If you are familiar with any of the studios such as Android Studio for creating Android apps or Flutter, you have to add a lot of assets such as images or or MP3 or something like that. Anything which is added externally to the workspace is termed as an asset. Here, in order to give a material, what is a material? A material is something that can be visible or that can be seen. Here, even if the face mesh is being added, face mesh do not have a material right now. Like this is the default material. This isn't a material. This is like a cage. A cage. This is like acts like a cage, and that is not visible. Right now it is visible because we are just working with that. If we import this to a Instagram, it seems like there's nothing in the difference while using the filter. So in order for the face mesh to be seen, we are adding an object. In order to add an object, you can see an option in the toolbar at the bottom, extreme bottom, add asset. In that you can also see a option like material. Once we press the material, you can see a material pops up in the asset window. Also the properties will be visible in the properties window in the extreme right, and we are naming the material as mat 1. So in order to insert the material for the face mesh, all you have to do is select the face mesh, and the properties of the face mesh will be shown in the property window, and there is an option for the materials like add material, and we are selecting mat 1. As you can see, the material is being added to the face mesh. It seems like a white mask uh, which seems a little bit more original. So that's how we add a material and a material to a face mesh. As I had told you, we are making a Joker face. We have to add something else to. We have to add that face paintings to the face. In order to add that, in order to add that, we have to add a texture to the material. I'll show you how a texture is being added. In order to add a texture, you have to have a PNG file. Here I am using, I have already downloaded a PNG file which you can either download or you can create your own PNG textures like this. From the using the Photoshop CC. So I have created my own texture and I am adding the texture to the Spark AR. Drag and drop the texture or the PNG file to the asset window. As you can see, a folder name texture will be created created automatically, and the PNG file will be added to the folder. So in order to use that texture on the face, what we have to do is we have to insert that texture on the material which we have added. Once you select the material, that is the mat 1 right now, there will be an option named texture. Here in the property window, you select the option. Before that, I will also show you how a material color change can be made. Here and there is an option called colors, where you can change the color of the material. Right now it is by default it is white in color. So in order to add the texture, what we have to do is, in the texture option, you have to just select, there will be the texture name from here, that will be in the texture option. Just select the texture and you can see a texture is being added to the material. That face mesh isn't being removed. The texture is being added to the face mesh. So that's what all we have to do in order to add a texture to the face mesh. Sometimes the texture or the PNG file which we are downloading may not be apt for the face. So in that case, we can create our own PNG textures. For that, SparkAR provides default faces on which you can make your own PNG files. Here, as you can see, this is the male muscular face. Both male and female versions are available, and this is the mesh on which you can work out. These are the coordinates of the eyes, eyebrows, lips, and nose. So on this face, all you have to do is open up. Okay, some of you have turned as you cannot see. I'll do the sharing again. See, these are the face mesh that is defaultly provided by the SparkAR team. In order to create our own textures, import this mesh to Photoshop CC, and you can add whatever patterns or whichever designs that is required by you, and you can blind this thing and convert the texture to PNG. Some of you was telling that you cannot see the option. It's all right, I will be providing the resources in the Telegram channel, so don't worry, it's a very simple concept. Coming back to SparkAR, coming back to SparkAR, we have already added a texture to the face mesh. Now this is like a Batman Joker, but we are not planning to do a Batman Joker right now. We have to explain a little bit about the functions which we can be added to the filter. So for that, I am adding a 3D sphere. Like for the nose of the Joker, I'm just adding a 3D object. In order to add a 3D object, you can add object, select the add object button and insert. Then either you can add the 3D object, that is not only the normal three-dimensional like polygonal objects such as sphere, hexagon, or cube, like such things. We can also add any three-dimensional object which is being created. In order to create an external three-dimensional object, all you have to do is create a 3D object using any of the softwares. Here I prefer Blender for creating a three-dimensional object, and you can directly import the object to the SparkAR, or SparkAR provides a default library option from which you can add any three-dimensional object. So here we are adding a 3D object which is a normal sphere. Also there are other options available. Here we are adding a sphere primitive. Press the import free button, which will be added to the asset window. In order to view the object added to the Spark AR player in the screen, drag and drop the screen to the scene. So when we are dragging and dropping, you can see the sphere is being added, but it isn't tracked, like it isn't moving along with the face. In order to make the sphere also to move along with the face, drag and drop the sphere in the face tracker as I'm showing right now. When we move the sphere, as you can see, the face tracker option is being highlighted. And once we move the sphere to the face tracker option, now you can see that sphere also moves along with the face. By default, it will be at the center. So it will be at the center. In order, we can move anywhere using these axis lines. Also, we can change the shape or scale, or even we can rotate using that. Now I have termed as, in order to change the view, we can use the view option here at the extreme, at the left of the workspace, extreme left top of the workspace. And also we are having a filter option here. If you want to remove the face tracker, you can filter the face tracker here. If you want to remove any of the objects are being added or skeletons being added, we can remove, like press none, and none of the wire gauges of the phone or smartphone camera which was available was removed. So we can filter such options here. So as you can see, Joker face, for make a Joker face, we are also, you can change the color of the sphere. Once when we add a sphere, by default itself the sphere will have a material so that it is being visible. If we remove the material, the visibility of the sphere is being taken away. So in order to change the color of the sphere, all we have to do is change the color of the material of the sphere. In order to change the color, you can select the color option. As you change the material color of the face mesh which was being added, the same manner you can change the color of the sphere like this, or you can pick the color from the screen. These are general terms, nothing to be explained much. So now we are adding a red color to the nose in order to look like a Joker. So this is how a sphere and a face is being added. See, both the sphere and the texture or the mesh being added goes along with his face. In order to view if this is compatible for, or it suits for another type of users, we can change the avatar in the camera options. This beard guy seems funny while using a Joker texture. We can select any of the avatars for this option. And now we are moving to the next important concept of Spark AR, that is the patch editor. What is a patch editor? Patch editor allows you to add properties, animations, or any other interactions of the to the filter. So let's move to the PPT again. And let's study a little bit more deeply about the patch editor. Working with the patch editor, as you can see, what is a patch editor? Patch editor is a node-based visual editor. Visual editor means zero coding. Only we can add any function to the filter by simply dragging and dropping the options that's available. As you can see here in the yellow frame, this is the patch editor. I will show you how to do some animations to the filter. Patch editor is something that to add animation logic and interactivity to the project. And there are also certain terminologies to learn the patch editor. And these are nodes or patches, producer patch, and graph. In order to understand the terminologies, as you can see, a single box is termed as a node or a patch. If the box is in green color, such a patch or node is termed as producer patch. A producer patch is something that produces a signal. How the patch editor works is that there are options to connect the patches together. Each patch is built by using complex algorithms. We can create or make a good animation by connecting these patches together. Once the patches are being connected, the fully connected patches are called as graph. So we can see how we will use the patches in our Joker filter. Now we will move to our Spark AR player again. We will be adding some animations or interactions to the patch. In order to open up the patch editor, in the left side of the workspace, there is an option called workspace. Press the option, there will be another pop-up menu bar. It shows 2-3 options like show or hide patch editor, console, or asset summary. So we are pressing show or hide patch editor. So a patch editor window pops up. In order to add properties to the filter or any object which we have added to the three-dimensional space, here we are trying to make some interaction with the nose. Either we can drag and drop the object or the object to the patch editor. Thus it will automatically shows the functions of the function of that object. The important concept of Spark AR is using the patch editor. So patch editor is the most important part which we have to learn while using Spark AR. Also, those people who are good at programming or coding, another option for scripting is also available. In Spark AR, we are utilizing JavaScript for this. Usually for simple filters, scripting is not necessary. In order to create some complex filters, scripting is being used. So right now we are going into scripting. We are utilizing only the patch editor. So look carefully. I am selecting face tracker and just dragging and dropping the face tracker to the patch editor. And you can see 3 nodes or patches shows up in the patch editor. And I had told you the green patch which will be displayed is the patch that gives a signal, that is input or output. And you can see different lighting buttons here. Those who are familiar with prototyping in Adobe XD or Figma will find it really easy, because connecting these patches are like prototyping in Adobe XD or Figma. When we drag and drop the face tracker, 3 patches are being popped up, and one of the patch is face finder, other is face select, and another option is face tracker or face follower. These 3 options were came up only by a single drag and drop. If we are using any other softwares or platforms for augmented reality or creating a filter, we have to script or write the codes for these three options. And as you know, in order to track a face and all, we have to use very large blocks of codes, such as in Python we are utilizing OpenCV, which is computer vision to track face or other body movements. In such cases, we have to use a large blocks of codes, or we have to write a long codes. Here, all we have to do is drag and drop, because the algorithms or the codes for these was already pre-written while the software was built by the developers. That is the easiness of the software. So what this face finder does is that it finds a face in the three-dimensional space. As you can see, the face is being lighted up once we select the option. And what face select does is it selects a face. There may be more than one faces in, maybe more than one face in the space, but here only just one. And these nodes in the left and right side of the patch is called, this is input port and this is called output port. You don't have to worry about these three patches because that is automatically popped up when the face tracker was dragged and dropped in the patch editor. So what we are planning to do is, once when the avatar opens his mouth, there will be a change in scale for the, or change in shape for the nose. In order to do that, we have to find when the avatar opens his mouth. So for that also we are having options. In order to select that, left click, right click, and a window pops up where there is search button in which search mouth open or open mouth. When insert, before inserting, as you can see, when an option is selected, the properties of the option and the input and output of the function is being displayed in the right side, and you can see the face with the mouth state you want to track, and the output will be a boolean value where which is a mouth option and mouth openness. We are adding that patch to the path editor, sorry, the patch editor, and you can see a node or a patch is being added, and you can see it has one input port and two output ports. If you want to view the properties of the patch again, all you have to do is left click on the patch, right click on the patch and select the patch information. In the mouth open option, you can see the properties of the patch or node again. So in order to connect these patches together, before that we will add other patches that we required for changing the shape or changing the size of the sphere or the nose. Again, right click on the patch editor and the options that is available will be shown. Here we need a transition, that is a change of size, so we are adding a transition. See, once we select transition, the properties of the transition will be displayed. Convert a progress value to a new range, current frame of animation. Okay, we are adding that patch to the patch editor. Once that patch also being added, this patch is having a 3 input ports and an output port. So what mouth open patch does is, it checks whether the mouth is being opened or not. In order to connect that patch together, here there is an option of face, 3D position, 3D scale, and 3D rotation. What we have to do is connect the face and face both together. Thus, the function mouth open will be called once the face is being tracked. Then there are two other options, that is mouth open and mouth openness. What is the difference between both? Can be viewed by simply checking the patch information, and we will be seeing mouth open and a boolean signal. Mouth open gives a boolean signal. Boolean is whether it is 0 or 1, and mouth openness, a number represents how the open mouth is. A boolean is neither a true or false option. So what we have to do is, we don't want a boolean option. We don't want, once a mouth is being opened, we have to make a transition. So we are in using the mouth open option. We are using the mouth openness. We are connecting the mouth openness to the progress bar. And as you can see in the progress bar, the numbers are being changed. That is, the nose is being tracked by the face tracker. And in order to change the size of the sphere, right now we are selecting the sphere in the scene. The properties of the sphere is listed in the property window. Once we bring the pointer to the options available, a yellow color change is being noted. And here the shape can be changed by using the scale option, and we are selecting the scale option, and we are connecting that also together. The 3D scale is varying. As you can see, once we connected that, the nose isn't getting displayed. That is because in the stat option, what is stat option? Is the starting, like when the transition is being done, what is the size of the sphere? Here 0 means the sphere doesn't exist, but we are changing the value to 1, which was the normal size of the sphere while adding. So we are changing the size to 1, but the end value of the sphere also remains 1, therefore no change can be noted. Once we change the value of the sphere to 2 or any other larger number, as you can see in this transition, size of the sphere have been changed or can be seen in the emulator window. And also, if we select the sphere, you can see the changes. Once when the mouth is being opened, the value is changing from 1 to 2. So this is how we are building our face filter. This is the most basic filter that can be added. We can also add more interesting textures or more interesting animations or loops to the, or more interesting actions to the filter. Suppose we want to change the face of that choker. We are utilizing another texture, which can be a little bit different texture can be used. This is how we create a face filter. It's really simple. Right now we will move to the other topics, and almost the time is being exceeded a lot. We'll be finishing it within 10 minutes. The patch editor, we have learned a bit about patch editor. Now let's see how we can upload the option. We can upload the patch editor. We can upload the option by simply exporting that to the Instagram or Facebook. That is very simple. I'll be showing, but there are certain conditions before uh, uploading it or exporting it to the publishing the filter. That is Facebook for the Facebook maximum size of the filter should be less than 10 MB, less than or equal to 10 MB, but most preferably it is not equal, less than 10 MB. For Instagram it is less than 4 MB is preferred. See, this is how we can, there are certain options like test on device. In order to not to test the filter in the device, all we have to do is press the device, send it to app. Either you can send it to Instagram or Facebook camera. Once you press the send option, before that you have to connect the Instagram account to the Spark AR Studio. Once the send option is pressed, a link or the notification will be sent to your Instagram profile and you will be notified. When we open the link in the Instagram, you can test the filter. So in order to publish your Instagram filter, after completing the process of creating the Instagram filter, we have to upload the filter pressing the upload button, publish the new effect, and we can, once you press the upload button, the the properties will be shown as I had shown in the presentation. It will check whether the size is being exceeded or not. So this is how an filter is being made and being uploaded. In order to check the properties or check the status of the Instagram filter which you have been uploaded, log into the Sparkin Hub. The link will be provided along with the presentation. In the Spark Hub, there is here the link is being provided. Once you will follow the terms and conditions of the Facebook community, your filter will be approved. Once the filter is approved, it will be added. Once the filter is being approved, it will be available for anyone in the Facebook or Instagram can view and use your Instagram filter. You can also track how many people used your filter and all. I had published a filter a few days ago and now it is being almost 4025 impressions. Number of impressions means number of people saw your filter, and 183 captures and 36 shares. Such a way you can track the status or the log of your filter. And that's all right now we are planning. These are very simple steps, and I think a person having a non-coding background can also easily learn how to use a Spark AR filter, Spark AR to create a Facebook or Instagram filter. So that's the end of the section. And I don't think we need a Q&A section right now. I guess you won't have any doubts right now because only when you will start using the Spark AR, definitely you will be having doubts. And once you start working with Spark AR, if you are feeling or if any doubts arise, feel free to ask in the Telegram channel, or you can ping me up directly. Once more, I am reminding you, please join the Telegram channels and stay tuned for more interesting sections. Thank you guys for tolerating me this much long. So keep on creating and keep motivated. This is AkhilTJ signing off.